Hi folks. I want to first apologize. I didn't have my screen sharing on when I went over the exporting for your logo files. So I want to do a quick video here in case any of you need to refer to that when you're exporting those files. So let me go ahead and get started. So first we're going to take a look at our presentation. Make sure that you guys have everything you need. Remember, I've got this example layer here. So you should have already done your project title page. Remember, if you'd like to change any of those colors or alter it, you certainly can. You have your research page. I'm going to remind you that since you last worked on the research page, if you have made any different, come to any different conclusions, done any other research, if your final logo took you in a very different direction, go ahead and update your research page. And of course, delete anything you don't need. You can either put your information here, or you can remove that. Make sure you're answering these questions. If you got any feedback that you needed to improve your research page, you should do that for this part of the assignment. This page will be shared with the client when we meet with them on Monday. This part should already be done here where you've scanned in your ideation. We will not be sharing our ideation with the client. This is just part of your process. So skipping down. Again, not sharing these ideation pages with the client. You should already have these completed. You should have your thumbnails in there as well, but again, that was part of the last assignment. We will not be sharing this with the client. So we will have our refined roughs, right? So our rough sketches will be part of this. This we will share with the client. So first we'll discuss our thought process, and then we'll jump right into the roughs with the client. From there, you should have, so this is where it differs, right? So let me zoom out a little bit. For this part of the presentation, you need to go over to your Pages panel. Let me zoom in and make these a little bit larger so you can see them. So when we get to the works cited, you're going to take that and you're going to drag the works cited page. So I'm over here on my Pages panel. You're going to take this and drag this to the very end of your presentation, right? That should be at the very end. We'll jump back up to the Stop Here page. Double clicking on that will bring it in focus, and we can delete that page. Now, because this is set up as single pages, the way to delete that page from the Pages panel is to click on Delete Spread. So again, that was a right click on that page, delete spread, and we will delete the Stop Here. We're going to present this to our client, so we wouldn't want kind of this behind the scenes instructions to be showing. So it's just telling you it has things on the page. That's okay. So that takes us, from our roughs down to our 3 digital options, right? So this is where you drew it in Illustrator, and you're going to present these as well. So make sure you have all 3 of these very different versions ready. Again, if we go to our layers panel, we can take a look at what we need and don't need. So anything that you don't use or shouldn't show, make sure that you have deleted that off the page. So it's just a nice, clean, clear version. Make sure your page looks really organized and neat so we're not distracting our client with unnecessary information. For me, I just drew a white box and covered up everything behind it and then placed these logos. That's fine, as long as it's not interfering. These should be large, clean, easy to read. You can put them on this page however that works. So maybe they're staggered, maybe they're side by side, but you want to make sure there's enough white space in between them. Some logo versions might look better stacked, depending on what you're doing. But again, make sure there's enough white space around them and it looks clean. So you're not stuck to this template to fit things in the boxes that were there. That was just to kind of make it easy for you to understand. So I actually do like this better. I do like these because of how these are sized. I like them better side by side. So go ahead and make that look the best you can. All right, so I've got our 3 digital logo options, and then we're going to pick our best one. For this, I just went with something I had. So here's our full color refined logo option. And then we're going to include that here with our 3 different versions. So let me take this time, and we're going to jump to Illustrator in just a second. So here are the instructions for this. And when you're done, you'll delete this page. But we have very clear instructions. You can read through it in the Blackboard, but here is some visual examples and kind of steps for you to walk through. So we're going to jump over to our Illustrator file. The first thing we need to have here is make sure that we created one document with 3 different artboards. So we can make sure that we've hopefully set it up this way, but we can double check that by opening our artboard panel. So we're going to jump up to Window, scroll down to Artboards, click and release, and that brings up our artboard panel. So you can see here I have already named my artboards. If you haven't named your artboards yet, then you'll probably see artboard 1, artboard 2, artboard 3. And you just need to go in there and name them by the color version. And this is important because the file name when you export these will export how you named your artboard. So we'll see how that works in a minute, but this naming on this piece right here is super important. It eases your exporting and names everything correctly when you do that. So here we are, we've got our 3 versions. We talked in class about how we need to be real conscious of how we make those black and white versions. So the simple way, right? We've got this nice color version here. We kind of simplify it and go with the black and white. And then one way to kind of do this could be to just take this version, oops, let's make sure I copy that, drag it down here, and we could go to our color panel and just kind of change everything that was black into white. And what we end up seeing is like a negative, like a photo negative version of this chimp. And so it's a little kind of off-putting. It's not exactly what you would expect to see. So what these folks did, knowing that just kind of reversing that didn't work, they made this white outline and put it around the chimp. So that way everything that's black stayed black, everything that's white stayed white. Sometimes this version here works just fine. I'm sure it would work fine for a Nike logo or a Reebok logo or lots of different logos, but oftentimes with faces and just some more complex logos, just switching that color around doesn't work. So you can kind of see that difference there. So hopefully you're thinking about that critically when you're creating that piece. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. I just wanted to show you that demonstration. All right, so we have the 3 versions here on separate artboards. We have our artboard panel up. We can double check that everything is named correctly by clicking on this artboard tool. When we do that, we can then see that this selection box for the artboard is highlighting the artboard that we're looking at, and it's highlighted here in the panel, so it says white reverse, and it is highlighting the white reverse. We can then click on the black, and it's highlighting the correct one, and when we click on color, you see that selection box is telling us we're on the right one. You can also see in the corner right here where it says color, black, white reverse. So you can see those once you've selected the artboard tool. If you need to change the name, so you just double click on the panel here. You can type in full color underscore, hit enter, and now it's renamed here and it's renamed here. So once you have your artboards created, they should all be the exact same size. Everything should be aligned perfectly within those artboards. So if you stacked them on top of each other, they would all align. So if I were to take this here and copy, right? Copy, and if I were to go down to this artboard here and then paste in place, you can jump from artboard to artboard and have it land in the exact same place. So paste in place, and it's going to land right on top of it. So let's do it with this one here. We're going to copy. We'll select this other artboard. We'll then paste in place, and it lands exactly on top of it. And if I show you the wireframes, every line is exactly in the same place as the other one. This helps in case you're working in files and you're replacing one version of a logo with another. You won't have to deal with any resizing. Okay, so we've got everything named properly, right? So let's look over here at prepare your file for output. We're starting with one AI document with 3 artboards. Be sure you've named your artboards with the color version. And we're going to be saving 3 file types. We're going to be saving each one of these as a separate AI document, and then we'll be exporting a PNG and a JPEG for each of these color versions. And remember, we do save as out of Illustrator to create another vector file, and we do export when we're going to a pixelated file. So that's why the two different versions here. So we're going to start with creating these as 3 separate AI files, and we'll do that by going to save as. So that's file, save as. We're going to save to our computer. I'm going to do this on the desktop. I'm going to make a new folder that says logo demo. Let's go to logo demonstration. Folder. So we picked where it wants to go, and now we're going to have another pop-up window where we make some choices. So this is all good here with everything we've picked. When we hit save, we then have an option here where we can save each artboard as a separate file. All of the rest of these defaults are fine, but this is the key here. Save each artboard as a separate file. We're going to do a version of Illustrator 2020. All right, so I believe it's done it. Let's go to our desktop, find that logo demonstration file. And we can see here are the versions. So it's going to give you whatever your file was named, and then underscore black color white reverse. So see, those are those same names as the artboards. And it gives you this, it gives you a copy of all three. You don't see it in the preview, but this version here is the all artboards version, and then those are the separate files there. So that's how you get your separate AI files. Now we'll look and see what our next step is. So we're going to now create the PNG and the JPEG file, and we're going to do this at the same time. So it used to be that if you wanted separate file types, you had to do multiple exports. But the folks at Adobe are super smart, and they found a way to improve our workflow. And we can now export multiple versions at one time. So let's see how we do that. So this is here. We're going to create a PNG and a JPEG file for each color version. So first we're going to go to File and then Export, because we're creating pixeled files, raster files. So we're going to pick Export for Screens. These other options have their place too, but if you're going to do multiple things at one time, this is the way to go. So Export for Screens. You can see here each of your artboards is showing. They all have a little checkbox. So if ever you wanted to only do one of your artboards or a few of your artboards, you could do that. But for this, we'll do all three artboards. You can see all is clicked here. They're all showing in checkbox. We don't have a bleed, so we don't need to click that. We won't do the full document. And you can follow, oops, so you can follow that along by following these settings that are in your presentation file. So we're going to follow all of these settings here. You can see that these are all named. If you didn't name them already, you could update them here as well by double clicking. You're going to pick where this file should go. That's where we want it, right? So that's fine. I'll click choose. And I got to that by clicking this folder icon or clicking in here. But clicking the folder will bring up your window to pick your destination. We can open the file after location, or after export. That's a choice, but we don't have to. We know where to find it. We don't need subfolders. Here's the important part when it comes to exporting your files. So there's some pre-formatted options in there for you, but I have given you the specs here that I want you to use. So make sure you follow and input both of these. So we're going to go to resolution. And this one defaulted to 72, which is what we want our PNG to be, right? PNGs are used on the web, so we want to have a 72 PPI for that. So that's for our PNG. To export multiple file types at one time, you need to add scale. And for us, you can see now we have that 72 PNG. It added this other scale here. We're going to change that to resolution. Once we have that in there, we'll change the resolution to 300 for printing. We don't need a suffix in here. And we're going to change that to JPEG 100. That will give you a good size file for web and a nice size files for printing. We can now add our prefix. So when this exports the file, you need to have what it is. I'm going to call it MailChimp underscore logo. You need to name it with your file name. And it's going to include this prefix along with these these will follow it as the file name here from the artboards that you named. So you can go on and add more scales and include many options at one time. For this assignment, we just need these two. So from there, we'll click Export Artboard. It's telling us it's complete. That's super quick. We'll go down and double check our files. So we can see here are those AI files we made, and then here are all of the files we just exported. So these, I'm hitting Command here on the Mac. These are all our PNG files, 1, 2, 3, and then here are our JPEG files, 1, 2, 3. So that is all of the files we need. And remember, you need to go back and double check that it did this correctly. So that is the black file. That is also, here's the color version, and it's named color. And just click through and make sure that you exported what you thought you exported. It should preview for you. We have a total of, I think it's 10 files. So let's look back at our instructions. And we can see there, oops, we can see there that we have the correct number of files. We have the 3 versions, separate files for the AI. We have the 1 version with all the artboards on one document. We then have these other versions. You can change your view if that helps you organize what you're looking at. It looks a little bit different from Mac to PC, of course, but we can say JPEG, 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 PNG, PNG, PNG. Here's all the logos. Here's the different versions of the logo. So we know we have all our files. And the only thing we have left to do is this PDF. So double check your files here that you have these 4 AIs, 3 PNGs, 3 JPEGs, and then your PDF of your presentation. So hopefully that is helpful to you on how to do that export. It makes this super easy, exporting files once you've created it. And because they're vector, you don't have to worry about your exports being blurry at all. If you see blurry, then you need to double check those specifications. Your files should all look really good at these specs. In fact, let's open that PNG. So that looks pretty good at that size. Now we'll open the JPEG and notice that it's a much bigger file, right? Because that's at 300 dpi. This PNG is a smaller file because it's for the web. Both of them look very good at their sizes. All right, so once you have those, that's when you will plug them into your presentation. So we've got them here, and as I talked about, you know, this logo is very horizontal. It's very long. It probably fits best on this page stacked like this, but other versions might be better side by side, or you could even do some sort of variation where your color logo is on the side and your other 2 versions next to it. Whatever's going to make your logo pop out on the page, right? We want it to stand out. We want to make sure it has enough white space around it, that it's clean and clear, but it's also large. So once you've got that done, you can then delete this page. Oops, I'm jumping all over the place. You can go ahead and delete this page. And remember, we can go to our Pages panel and then click Delete Spread to remove that. And that would move our cited to the end. So that's really all about the export. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. I've got office hours on Thursday. If you need help with this. All right, I hope that helps. I'm looking forward to see your logos. And don't forget, we're presenting these to Mr. Sorrelson, or I'm sorry, Dr. Dr. Sorrels on Monday. So be prepared. Awesome. Thank you guys. You're doing great. I look forward to see your work and all the creativity that you got put into this really cool logo design. Awesome.